Hey there! Hi and welcome to History for the Restless. Imagine you're standing in a stone corridor beneath the Colosseum. The walls are wet. They always are. Somewhere above you, 50,000 Romans are screaming. You can feel their voices through the stone itself, a vibration that enters through your feet and climbs your spine. There's an iron collar biting into your neck. You've worn it for 6 months now, long enough that the skin beneath has calloused, turned to leather where the metal rubs with every breath. Long enough that you've stopped trying to slip your fingers underneath to ease the pressure. It doesn't ease. It never eases. In 10 minutes, the gate will open. You'll walk out into the sun, into the sand, into the roar. Your opponent will be there waiting. You don't know his name. You don't know if he's fought before, or if this is his first time, like it was yours 6 months ago. You don't know if he's terrified or resigned or numb. All you know is this: one of you will walk back through that gate. One of you will stay in the sand. And the crowd, those 50,000 voices pressing down through stone, will cheer either way. This is what it means to be a gladiator. Not the myth, not the glory, not the bronze statue or the legend whispered in taverns. This, the collar, the stone, the weight, the knowledge that you are property, that your death is entertainment, that your life is measured in the distance between this moment and the moment the gate opens. Tonight, we're not telling the story of gladiators as Rome wanted you to see them, as heroes, as warriors, as men who chose glory. Tonight, we're telling the truth of what it was like to be owned, to be trained to kill, to stand in the dark beneath the greatest arena ever built and wait for your name to be called. We're going into the cells where gladiators slept, the training yards where they bled, the moment before the gate opened and everything became sand and steel and screaming. We're walking through the life of a man who had no choice, whose body was a commodity, whose death was a transaction. Some stories don't live in daylight. They wait for nights like this, when the world is finally quiet enough to listen. This is history for the restless mind. Let's travel far away together. But before we step into the barracks, before we pick up the sword, I'm curious about you. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to know your death was scheduled? To train for months knowing the only certainty was violence? Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from tonight, and whether you think you could have survived what we're about to witness. And now, step into the darkness with me. Because once you understand what it really meant to be a gladiator, you'll never see the Colosseum the same way again. You weren't born a gladiator. You were born something else. A farmer's son in Gaul, maybe. A shepherd in Thrace. A fisherman on the coast of Hispania. You had a name your mother gave you. You had a home. You had a life that seemed solid, permanent, real. And then the Romans came. Maybe you fought. Maybe you ran. It didn't matter. Rome's legions moved like a machine, methodical and unstoppable. They cut through your village in an afternoon. The ones who resisted were killed on the spot. The ones who surrendered were roped together at the wrists and marched south. You walked for weeks, no shoes, feet bleeding, wrists raw from the rope. Men collapsed and were cut loose, left to die by the roadside. Women were separated from the column, taken elsewhere for purposes you tried not to imagine. Children who couldn't keep pace simply disappeared. By the time you reached the slave market in Rome, you'd forgotten what it felt like to be a person. The market is in the Forum Borum, the old cattle market. The smell of manure and unwashed bodies hangs in the air. You're stripped naked, inspected like livestock. Buyers squeeze your arms, check your teeth, ask you to jump, to run in place, to demonstrate that your body still works. You don't speak Latin, you don't understand the words being thrown around you, but you understand the pointing, the nodding, the exchange of coins. A man in a leather tunic buys you. His name is Gnaeus. He's a lanista, a gladiator trainer. He owns a ludus, a gladiator school, near the Colosseum. He's looking for men with the right build, young, strong, not yet broken by slavery. You fit the profile. Gnaeus pays 500 denarii for you, about half a year's wages for a Roman soldier. You're expensive. This means he expects a return on his investment. This means he believes you can be made into something profitable. This means you're not going to be a house slave, cleaning floors and serving wine. You're going to be a gladiator. In the cart that takes you to the ludus, you sit with 5 other men. None of you speak the same language. A Thracian, a German, a Briton, a Numidian, and you. All of you purchased the same day. All of you headed for the same fate. The ludus is a walled compound. High stone walls topped with iron spikes. Guard towers at each corner. One gate, always locked, always guarded. This is not a school. This is a prison. Inside, you're taken to a holding cell. Stone floor. Stone walls. A bucket in the corner. No windows. The door is iron and it locks from the outside. A man comes. He's not Gnaeus. He's another slave, but one who's been here longer. He speaks broken Latin and a few words of Gaulish, enough to communicate the essentials. You're told you'll be given a new name. Your old name is gone. You're told you'll be assigned to a class of fighter based on your size and build. You're told you'll train every day. You're told that if you refuse to train, you'll be whipped. If you refuse to fight, you'll be executed. If you try to escape, you'll be crucified. You're told that your life belongs to Gnaeus now, not in the metaphorical sense, in the legal sense. You are his property. He can sell you. He can kill you. He can do whatever he wants with you. And Roman law will not intervene. The man leaves. The door locks. And in the darkness of that cell, you understand what has happened. You are no longer a person. You are an investment, a piece of equipment, a thing that will be trained to kill other things for the amusement of people who will never know your name. This is how it begins. The next morning, you're taken to the training yard. It's an open courtyard surrounded by the barracks. Dirt floor, packed hard by years of footsteps, wooden posts driven into the ground at intervals, racks of training weapons along one wall, wooden swords, weighted to simulate real blades, shields made of wicker and wood, lighter than the real thing but close enough. There are men already training, 30, maybe 40 of them, some paired off, sparring, others working alone against the posts, practicing strikes and blocks in repetitive patterns. Their bodies glisten with sweat. Their movements are precise, economical. These are not beginners. You're given a wooden sword. It's heavier than you expected. The balance is wrong. You've never held a sword before. You don't know how. A trainer approaches. His name is Lucius. He's a former gladiator, retired after 15 fights. He walks with a limp, a spear wound that never healed properly. He looks at you with the dispassion of a man who's seen 1,000 recruits and knows most of them will be dead within a year. He doesn't waste time on encouragement. He shows you the basic stance. Feet shoulder-width apart, knees bent, shield up, covering from chin to knee, sword held back, ready to thrust. He demonstrates a basic attack, a thrust to the chest, then a block, then a counter thrust. Again, he says. You try to copy his movements. You're slow, clumsy. The wooden sword feels like it's made of lead. Again. You try again. Your form is wrong. Your balance is off. You stumble. Lucius doesn't correct you gently. He hits your leg with a training staff, hard enough to hurt, hard enough that you'll feel it for days. Again. This is how you learn. Through repetition, through pain, through the understanding that mistakes have consequences. By midday, your arms are shaking, your legs are cramping, sweat pours into your eyes, stinging, blurring your vision. You've been doing the same movement for 4 hours. Thrust, block counter, thrust, block counter. You're not learning to fight. You're learning to move, to react, to let your body do the work so your mind doesn't have to think. Because in the arena, thinking gets you killed. The training continues, every day. No rest, no variation, just drill after drill after drill. You're learning the basics of the style you've been assigned. You're a murmillo. This is determined by your build. You're tall, broad-shouldered, strong. The murmillo is a heavy fighter, equipped with a large rectangular shield, a gladius sword, a visored helmet that covers your face completely. You'll fight against the Thraex, a lighter, faster fighter with a small shield and a curved sword, or against the Retiarius, who has no armor but carries a net and trident. Your job is to use your weight and your shield to overwhelm them, to press forward, to absorb their attacks and then crush them with brute force. This is the theory. The reality is that every opponent is trying to kill you, and they've been training just as hard as you have. After a month, you're allowed to spar with other recruits. The first time you face a real opponent, even with wooden weapons, you freeze. The training post doesn't move, doesn't attack back, doesn't try to kill you. A person does. The other recruit is a Numidian. Smaller than you, faster. He's been training for 2 months longer. He circles you, looking for an opening. You try to remember your form. Shield up, feet planted, but your body is rigid with fear. He feints left. You bite. Your shield moves to block. And then he strikes from the right, hitting your ribs hard enough to crack something. You go down. The pain is blinding. Lucius walks over. He looks down at you sprawled in the dirt. Dead, he says. You're dead. Get up. You get up. You try again, and again, and again. Eventually, you stop freezing. Eventually, your body starts to react without your mind commanding it. Eventually, you start to look like a fighter. But you never forget the fear. The fear is always there, buried beneath the training, beneath the muscle memory. The fear that when the gate opens and you walk into the real arena with real steel, you'll freeze again. And this time, you won't get up. The ludus is not just a training ground. It's a complete world, a society unto itself, with its own hierarchies and rules. At the top are the veterans, the men who fought 10, 15, 20 times and survived. They have their own cells, better food, sometimes even small privileges. Wine, better bedding, the rare visit from a woman. They're treated with respect by the trainers because they're profitable. They're the stars, the ones whose names get announced in the arena, the ones the crowd comes to see. You're not one of them. You're at the bottom, a tiro, a recruit. You have no status, no privileges. You exist to be trained and then thrown into the arena to see if you survive. The hierarchy is enforced brutally. If you speak out of turn, you're beaten. If you take food that isn't yours, you're beaten. If you show disrespect to a veteran, you're beaten. But there's also a strange kind of camaraderie. Because everyone here, from the newest recruit to the most experienced veteran, understands the same truth. You're all property. You're all going to die, probably sooner rather than later. The only question is how many fights you can survive before your luck runs out. In the evenings after training, the men gather in the barracks. Some gamble with dice or stones. Some tell stories in their native languages, even though no one else understands. Some pray to gods Rome has never heard of. You learn to pick up fragments of Latin, enough to understand orders, enough to communicate basic needs. You learn the names of the other men in your cell. Dagos, the Thracian, Brennus, the Gaul, Allured, the Briton. You learn who to avoid, the men whose eyes have gone dead, who'll kill you over a piece of bread just for the practice. And you learn who to trust, the ones who'll share their food when you're too exhausted to eat your own portion, who'll teach you tricks the trainers don't bother with. Dagos is one of the latter. He's fought 3 times. He's still alive, which means he's good. He shows you how to read an opponent's eyes, how to tell from the shift of weight which direction they're about to move. He shows you how to feint convincingly, how to make your opponent commit to a defense and then exploit the opening. He doesn't do this out of kindness. He does it because in a few months you might be fighting beside him in a group combat, and he'd rather have you as a competent ally than as dead weight that gets him killed. This is the logic of the ludus. Trust only extends as far as mutual benefit. Beyond that, you're on your own. 6 months into your training, something changes. Gnaeus comes into the training yard. He watches you spar. He watches you work the post. And then he nods to Lucius. He's ready. Those 2 words. You've been dreading them and hoping for them in equal measure. Dreading because they mean you're about to face real steel. Hoping because they mean you're valuable enough to risk in the arena, which means you've become more than just another body. The next day, you're taken to the armory. This is where the real equipment is kept, not the wooden practice weapons. The actual armor and weapons that will be used in the arena, they're kept locked up, carefully inventoried, Each piece is worth more than you are. You're fitted for your armor. A manica, a segmented metal sleeve that covers your right arm from wrist to shoulder, a bronze greave that covers your left leg from ankle to knee, a leather belt reinforced with metal plates, and the helmet, the distinctive Murmillo helmet with its tall crest and wide brim, the face guard that covers everything but your eyes. You're given your shield. It's heavy, solid wood covered in leather, reinforced with a bronze boss in the center. It's big enough to cover your torso completely. And finally, the sword, the gladius, the short Roman infantry blade, about 18 inches of steel, razor sharp. It's been used before. You can see the nicks in the blade, the places where it's been sharpened so many times that the metal has worn thin. You hold it. You feel its weight. This is not like the wooden sword. This will cut through flesh and bone like it's nothing. This will kill. Lucius looks at you. Your first fight is in 3 days. Afternoon games at the Colosseum. You'll be in the opening matches, probably against another Tiro. He pauses. If you win, you'll fight again. If you lose, he shrugs. Try to die well. The crowd appreciates a good death. This is it. This is what everything has been leading toward. 6 months of training, 6 months of fear and pain and transformation. And now you're going to walk into the Colosseum, into the sand, into the roar of 50,000 Romans who've come to watch you kill or be killed. You don't sleep that night, or the next, or the one after. And then the day comes. You're the morning of your first fight, the pending rituals, fear, and the sinister walk to the Colosseum. You wake before dawn, or rather, you stop pretending to sleep. You've been lying on your straw mattress for hours, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the other men breathing. Some are snoring, some are restless, shifting positions every few minutes. Some, like you, are lying perfectly still, waiting for the sun. Today is the day, your first fight, the day you find out if you're going to survive or if the last 6 months of training were just an elaborate preparation for your death. Your stomach is in knots. You tried to eat last night but couldn't keep anything down. Lucius told you this was normal. He said the fear gets better after the first fight. Or you die and then the fear doesn't matter anymore. The barracks door opens. A slave enters with a torch. Time, he says. Get up. You rise. Your body feels strange, disconnected. Your hands are shaking slightly. You try to control it, but can't. You're not the only one fighting today. There are 5 other gladiators from your ludus scheduled for the afternoon games. Dagos is one of them. This is his 4th fight. Brennus is another. This is his 2nd. The others are veterans, men who fought a dozen times or more. You're taken to the preparation area, a stone room with benches along the walls. There's a small altar in the corner, a shrine to Mars, the god of war, and to Nemesis, the goddess of vengeance. Some of the men kneel before it, muttering prayers. You don't. Your gods are not Roman gods. If they exist at all, they've abandoned you. A physician enters. He's not there to care for you. He's there to assess whether you're healthy enough to fight. He checks your eyes, your reflexes. He has you perform a few basic movements to ensure you haven't injured yourself in training. Your property. Expensive property. Nios wants to make sure his investment isn't damaged before it's put to use. The physician nods. He's sound. You're sound. You're ready to be killed. Next comes the arming. Slaves bring in the equipment. The manica is strapped to your right arm. The leather lace is pulled tight. The greave is fitted to your left leg. The belt is cinched around your waist. Each piece is heavy. Together they weigh you down, restrict your movement. But they also make you feel solid, protected. You remind yourself that the armor is there for a reason. It saved lives before. It might save yours. The shield is handed to you. You grip it by the handle on the inside. Your knuckles are white. Finally, the helmet. Lucius lifts it and places it over your head. The world narrows. Your peripheral vision is cut off. Sound becomes muffled. You can only see what's directly in front of you through the narrow eye slits. This is how you'll fight, half-blind, relying on sound and instinct as much as sight. Lucius adjusts the helmet to make sure it fits snugly. Remember, he says, his voice slightly distorted by the metal between you, keep your shield up. Don't overextend. Wait for him to make a mistake, and when you see the opening, take it. Don't hesitate. You nod, or you try to. The helmet makes it difficult. The sword is given to you last. You take it in your right hand. The weight is familiar now. You've held this sword 100 times in training. But today it feels different. Heavier. More real. Lucius steps back and looks at you. For a moment, something almost like sympathy crosses his face. Then it's gone. Walk well, he says. It's the traditional blessing. A wish not for victory, but for a good death if death comes. You're led out of the ludus into the streets of Rome. It's mid-morning. The city is alive with noise and movement. Vendors calling out their wares. Carts rumbling over cobblestones. Children running through the crowds. The everyday chaos of the greatest city in the world. And you walking through it in full armor, on your way to kill or be killed. People see you and they know what you are. A gladiator, on the way to the games. Some cheer, some make crude jokes, some just stare. To them, you're not quite human. You're a spectacle, a thing. The walk to the Colosseum takes about 20 minutes. You move in a small group, the 5 other fighters from your ludus, flanked by guards. Not to protect you, to make sure you don't run. As you get closer, you begin to hear it. The roar. The Colosseum is already full. 50,000 people, packed into the tiered seating, waiting for the games to begin. The sound they make is like nothing you've ever heard. It's not individual voices. It's a single massive presence, a living thing that fills the air and presses down on you. You approach the entrance. The guards lead you not through the main gates, but through a side passage, one of the vomitoria, the tunnels that lead beneath the arena. As you descend into the darkness, the roar becomes slightly muffled, but you can still feel it. It vibrates through the stone. The tunnel is cool and damp. Torches line the walls, casting flickering shadows. You walk in silence. No one speaks. There's nothing left to say. You reach the holding area. This is where you'll wait until your name is called. It's a large stone chamber with iron bars separating different sections. Other gladiators are already here. Men from different ludi, all waiting for their turn in the sand. Some pace back and forth like caged animals. Some sit perfectly still, eyes closed, breathing slowly. One man is vomiting in the corner. Another is praying, his lips moving silently. Dagos is beside you. He's been through this before. He leans close and speaks in a low voice. Don't listen to the crowd. They're not real. The only real thing is the man in front of you and the sword in your hand. Everything else is noise. You nod. You don't trust yourself to speak. A functionary appears on the other side of the bars. He's holding a wax tablet with a list. He calls out names. Greek names, Roman names, barbarian names. Each name is a man about to walk into the arena. He calls Brennus's name. The Gaul stands. His face is pale but composed. He walks to the gate. It opens. He disappears into the tunnel beyond. You wait. Minutes pass, or maybe hours. Time has stopped meaning anything. And then you hear it. Your name, not your real name. The name Gnaeus gave you. The name that's written on the program that spectators are holding in the stands above. The name that will either be remembered if you win or forgotten if you die. You stand. Your legs feel like they might give out, but they don't. You walk to the gate. It opens. The tunnel stretches ahead of you. At the end, you can see light, blinding white light, the sun on the sand. You take a step forward, and another, and another, and then you're there. You emerge from the darkness into the arena. The light is overwhelming. After the dimness of the tunnel, the sun hits you like a physical force. For a moment, you're blind. Your eyes water. You squint behind the helmet, trying to adjust. And then you hear it. The crowd. Not muffled through stone anymore, but direct, immediate, a wall of sound that crashes over you like a wave. 50,000 people screaming, chanting, cheering. The noise is so loud it drowns out your own thoughts. You're standing at the edge of the arena floor. The sand is white, rake smooth. In a few minutes, it will be red, yours or his or both. Across the arena, maybe 50 feet away, your opponent emerges from the opposite gate. He's a Tiro like you. First fight. You can tell because his movements are stiff, uncertain. He's been assigned the Thrax class. Lighter armor, smaller shield, curved sword. His helmet has a distinctive griffin crest. His right arm and both legs are protected, but his torso is exposed except for padding. The referee, the Sumarudis, stands in the center of the arena. He's holding a long staff. He'll use it to separate you if the fight becomes tangled, to enforce the rules, to signal when the fight is over. The editor, the man sponsoring the games, is seated in the imperial box. Today it's a wealthy senator, not the emperor himself, but he has the same power. He'll decide whether you live or die if you lose. The Sumarudis raises his staff. He calls out the opening declaration, "Let the games begin." The crowd erupts. You and your opponent begin to circle each other. Slowly, carefully. Both of you are terrified. Both of you are trying to remember your training. Both of you are realizing that training and reality are not the same thing. His curved sword is meant for slashing attacks, hooking around shields. Yours is meant for thrusting, stabbing through openings. Your shield is twice the size of his. Your armor is heavier. You're slower but better protected. He's faster but more vulnerable. In theory, you know how to fight him. Stay defensive. Let him attack. Use your shield to deflect his sword. Wait for him to overcommit, then strike. In practice, your mind is blank. Your body is rigid. You're holding your shield wrong. Your feet are too close together. Everything Lucius taught you has evaporated. The Thracian makes the first move. He lunges forward, sword slashing at your shield. The impact rattles your arm. You stumble back. The crowd roars. He presses the attack. Another slash. You raise your shield to block. The sword glances off the bronze boss. He circles right, trying to get around your shield. You pivot to keep him in front of you. Your training is starting to come back. Not consciously. You're not thinking. Your body is moving on its own, repeating the drills you've done 1,000 times. He feints left. This time, you don't bite. You keep your shield centered. He slashes right. You block. And then you see it. An opening. His recovery is slow. His torso is exposed. You thrust. The Gladius drives forward, aimed at his ribs. But he's faster than you expected. He twists away. Your blade catches the padding on his side, tears through it, but doesn't penetrate. He's already moving, bringing his sword down toward your exposed right shoulder. You barely get your shield up in time. His blade hits the metal-reinforced rim. The impact sends a shock up your arm. You're both breathing hard now. Sweat is pouring down your face inside the helmet. You can't wipe it away. It stings your eyes. The Sumarudis steps forward, his staff raised. "Separate!" You both step back. This is the pattern of gladiatorial combat. Bursts of intense action, followed by brief pauses. The crowd wants to see aggression, but they also want suspense. They want the fight to build. If it's over too quickly, they feel cheated. The pause gives you a moment to think, to breathe, to realize that you're still alive. But so is he. The Sumarudis lowers his staff. "Continue." You circle again. This time you're more cautious. You felt his speed. You know he can strike faster than you can react. You need to control the distance. Keep him at the edge of your reach. Don't let him get close. He knows this too. He's looking for ways to close the gap, to get inside your shield, where his smaller size becomes an advantage. He feints again. You don't move. He feints twice more. You hold position, and then he commits. A full-speed charge, sword raised, trying to overwhelm you with aggression. This is what you've been waiting for. The moment he overcommits. You plant your feet. You raise your shield to meet his attack. His sword hits the shield with tremendous force, but you're braced. You absorb the impact. And then, while he's still recovering, you thrust. This time your aim is true. The Gladius drives into his side, just below the ribs. The blade punches through the padding, through the flesh beneath. You feel it go in. You feel the resistance of muscle and bone. You feel him stiffen. He gasps. A wet, choking sound. You pull the blade out. Blood follows. Bright red, pulsing. Too much blood. He staggers back. His sword drops from his hand. He tries to raise his shield, but his arm isn't responding. He falls to one knee. The crowd is on its feet, screaming. The Summa Rudis steps forward. He looks at the Thracian, assessing. The wound is mortal. The man is already dying, but he's not dead yet. The referee raises his staff and points to the editor's box. The senator stands. He looks at the Thracian, then he looks at the crowd. The crowd is chanting. Some are shouting for mercy, others for death. The senator reads the room. He raises his hand, thumb horizontal. Then he points it down. Paulus verso, death. The crowd erupts in approval. The Summa Rudis gestures to you. Finish it. You walk toward the Thracian. He's still on his knees, blood pooling around him in the sand. He looks up at you. His eyes meet yours through the slits in his helmet. He's not Roman. He doesn't speak Latin. But you understand each other perfectly in this moment. You're both slaves, both property, both pawns in someone else's game. The only difference is that you got lucky. Your blade went in. His didn't. You raise your sword. You place the point at the base of his neck, where the helmet doesn't protect. He doesn't move, doesn't plead. He just closes his eyes. You thrust down. The blade goes through. He shudders once, and then he's still. Your first kill. The crowd is chanting your name. The name Gnaeus gave you. They're throwing flowers into the arena. Some are throwing coins. You stand there breathing hard, covered in blood that isn't yours. You've won. You're alive. And you're going to have to do this again. You return to the ludus as something different from what you were when you left. You're no longer a Tiro. You're a gladiator. You've fought. You've killed. You've survived. The other men treat you differently now. There's a new respect. You've proven you can function in the arena. You're not dead weight anymore. You're one of them. But you're also not the same person who walked into that tunnel 6 hours ago. Something has changed inside you. Something has broken, or hardened, or gone numb. You killed a man today, not in battle, not in self-defense, but for entertainment, because a crowd demanded it. That night, you lie on your mattress and stare at the ceiling. You can still feel the resistance of the sword going in. You can still see his eyes. You wonder if he had a family, if someone, somewhere, is waiting for him to come home. You wonder if anyone will remember his name. Dagos survived his fight. Brennus didn't. He fought well, the others say. He wounded his opponent badly. But in the end, the other man was faster. Brennus died in the sand. His body was dragged out through the gate of death, the Porta Libitonensis. You don't know what happened to it after that. Gladiators don't get proper burials. Sometimes they're burned. Sometimes they're just thrown in a mass grave with the criminals and the animals. You think about Brennus. You trained with him. You ate with him. And now he's gone, as if he never existed. This is the reality of being a gladiator. Death is always close, always present. You live in the space between fights, knowing that the next one could be your last. The days after your first victory settle into a rhythm. Training continues. It never stops. If anything, it intensifies. Now that you've proven you can kill, Lucius pushes you harder. He pairs you against more experienced fighters. He drills you on combinations you haven't practiced. He finds your weaknesses and exploits them ruthlessly. You're valuable now, he says. That means Gnaeus will invest more in you. That means you need to be better. You also receive better treatment. Your food improves slightly. More meat, better bread. You're moved to a different cell, one with fewer men, more space. These are small comforts, but after months of deprivation, they feel significant. The veterans start to talk to you. They share advice. They tell you about opponents they've faced, about techniques that work, about how to read the crowd and give them what they want without taking unnecessary risks. You learn that being a successful gladiator is not just about skill. It's about performance. It's about understanding that you're not just a fighter. You're an actor in a violent play. The crowd has expectations. They want to see bravery. They want to see aggression. They want to see you take risks. But they also want the fight to last. They want suspense. A quick kill might satisfy bloodlust, but it doesn't satisfy entertainment. So you learn to pace a fight, to make it look closer than it is, to give your opponent moments that seem like advantages, only to turn them to your favor, to read the crowd's mood and adjust accordingly. This is the artistry of gladiatorial combat. The violence is real, but it's also choreographed, improvised, performed. 3 months after your first fight, you're scheduled for your second. This time, you're not terrified. Or rather, you're terrified, but in a different way. The fear is familiar now. It's become part of your routine. You know what to expect. You know what the arena feels like, what the crowd sounds like, what it feels like to kill. That doesn't make it easier. If anything, it makes it harder. Because now you know. You know exactly what you're walking into. Your second opponent is a veteran. He's fought 8 times. He's survived all of them. His name is Crixus, and he's from Gaul, like Brennus was. Lucius tells you this the night before. He's good, fast, experienced. He knows how to work the crowd, but he's overconfident. That's your advantage. Let him think he's winning, then surprise him. You nod, but inside you're calculating the odds. He's fought 8 times. You fought once. 8-1. Those are terrible odds. That night you can't eat. The food sits in front of you, but your stomach rejects it. Dago sits beside you. He's fought 6 times now. He's become something close to a friend, as much as friendship exists in a place where everyone is temporary. You're thinking too much, he says. Stop thinking. Just fight. Easy for you to say, you reply. No, he says quietly. It's never easy. But thinking about it doesn't change anything. Tomorrow you'll walk into that arena, you'll fight, you'll win, or you'll die. Thinking about it now just makes tonight worse. He's right, but you think about it anyway. With the next afternoon, you stand in the tunnel again. The same tunnel, the same light at the end, the same roar pressing down through stone. But this time, when you emerge into the arena, something is different. The crowd recognizes you, not by name, but by sight. They remember you from your first fight. You're starting to become a commodity, a fighter worth watching. Some cheer, others boo. It doesn't matter which. What matters is that they react. You're becoming real to them. Crixus enters from the opposite gate. He's tall, heavily muscled, moving with the easy confidence of someone who's done this many times. He's a Murmillo like you. Same armor, same weapons. This will be a test of pure skill. The Summa Rudis gives the signal. Crixus doesn't circle. He comes straight at you, aggressive, fast. His shield slams into yours. The impact rattles your teeth. He's testing you, seeing if you'll panic. You don't. You plant your feet. You push back. He's stronger than you, but not by much, and strength can be endured. He attacks high. You block. He attacks low. You block. He's probing your defenses, looking for patterns, for tells. You do the same. The first minute is all defense on both sides. Neither of you wants to overcommit. Neither of you wants to give up an opening. The crowd starts to get restless. They're booing. They want action. They want blood. Crixus hears it. He smiles behind his helmet, and then he attacks. A flurry of strikes, fast and hard, high, low, left, right. You block as many as you can. One gets through, catching your right shoulder. The blade skitters off the manica, doesn't penetrate, but the impact sends pain shooting down your arm. You counterattack. A thrust to his chest. He deflects with his shield. Another thrust, lower. He steps back. You're both breathing hard now. Sweat is pouring. Your arms are starting to burn. The Summa Rudis separates you. Brief pause. You use it to catch your breath, to assess. Crixus is good, better than you. But he's also showboating, playing to the crowd. That's his weakness. He's more concerned with looking good than with efficiency. When the fight resumes, you change tactics. You stop trying to match his aggression. Instead, you become defensive. You let him attack. You block. You retreat. You make him work. The crowd boos you now. They think you're cowardly. They want to see bravery, not caution. But you don't care what they want. You care about staying alive. Crixus is getting frustrated. He's expending energy on attacks that aren't landing. His breathing is becoming ragged. He's overextending. And then he makes a mistake. He commits to a heavy strike, putting all his weight into it. His shield drops slightly, just for a second. That's all you need. You thrust, low, under his shield, into his thigh. The blade goes in, not deep, but deep enough. He gasps. Blood flows. The wound won't kill him, but it will slow him. And in the arena, slow means dead. He knows it. You can see it in his body language. The confidence is gone. Now he's defensive, protecting the wounded leg. You press the advantage, not recklessly, carefully, methodically. You attack the wounded side. He can't pivot properly anymore, can't move laterally. His defense is compromised. Another strike, this one to his sword arm. The blade catches the gap between his manica and his shoulder armor. It's a shallow cut, but it's cumulative. He's bleeding from two places now. The crowd is screaming. Half for you, half for him. They don't care who wins anymore. They just want the kill. Crixus knows he's losing. He tries one last desperate attack. A wild swing, putting everything into it. You sidestep. The momentum carries him past you. His wounded leg gives out. He stumbles. You strike. The sword goes into his back, between the shoulder blades, where the armor doesn't cover. He falls forward, face down in the sand. The Summa Iudice looks to the editor's box. The senator considers. The crowd is chanting for death. Thumb down. You pull your sword from Crixus's back. You place it at the base of his neck. He's still breathing, still conscious. He turns his head slightly. His eyes meet yours. Good fight, he whispers in Gaulish, a language you understand, a shared tongue from a shared homeland you'll never see again. You thrust down. It's over. The crowd erupts. You've killed a veteran. You're 2 for 2. You've become valuable. After your second victory, something shifts. You're given better quarters, a private cell, actual bedding, not just straw. Your food improves again. Gnaeus even sends a physician to check on a persistent injury in your shoulder, not out of concern for you, but to protect his investment. You're profitable now. 2 fights, 2 wins. The betting houses are starting to take notice. Your odds are improving. People are starting to remember your name, but inside you're eroding. Every night you see their faces. The Thracian from your first fight, Crixus from your second. Their eyes in the moment before you killed them. The way their bodies went slack. The way their blood looked in the sand. You tell yourself it was them or you. You tell yourself you had no choice. You tell yourself that if you hadn't killed them, they would have killed you. All of this is true, but it doesn't make the faces go away. Some gladiators find ways to cope. Dagos drinks, not during training, but after, when wine is occasionally allowed. He drinks until he passes out, until the memories blur. Others pray. They invoke gods from their homelands, gods Rome has never heard of. They make bargains, offerings, promises of devotion in exchange for survival. Some become brutal. They lean into the violence. They stop seeing their opponents as human. They treat each fight as a hunt, the opponent as prey. This makes the killing easier, but it also makes them into something that's no longer quite human. You try to find a middle path. You train, you fight, you survive. You try not to think too much about what you're becoming, but the dreams are getting worse. You wake in the night gasping, convinced you're back in the arena, convinced the gate is about to open, convinced you're about to die. The other men understand. They don't talk about it, but they know. Everyone in the ludus is carrying the same weight, the weight of killing, the weight of knowing you're going to have to kill again. Your third fight comes 4 months later, then your fourth, then your fifth. Each one is different opponent, different weapons, different circumstances. Sometimes you fight alone, sometimes in pairs. Once you're part of a group combat, 6 against 6, chaos in the sand, trying to keep track of multiple opponents while also avoiding friendly blows. You win all of them, not because you're the best fighter, not because you're the strongest or the fastest. You win because you're careful, you're patient, you wait for mistakes, and you're lucky. Luck matters more than skill in the arena. A stumble in the sand, a moment of sun in your opponent's eyes, a bad decision by your enemy. These tiny variables decide who lives and who dies. After your fifth victory, Gnaeus calls you to his office. This is unusual. Gladiators don't speak to the Lanista unless there's a problem. He's sitting behind a wooden desk covered in wax tablets, financial records, betting slips, contracts. You're doing well, he says. Better than I expected. 5 fights, 5 wins. Your value has increased significantly. You say nothing. You've learned that speaking when not asked is dangerous. I'm going to enter you in the main events, he continues. Better opponents, bigger crowds, more money. He pauses. For me, of course, but also for you. Win enough fights, and you might earn your freedom. This is the first time anyone has mentioned freedom to you. How many, you ask? Depends. Maybe 20, maybe 30. Maybe you'll die before you get there. Most do. He says this casually, as if he's discussing livestock. But if you do survive, he adds, you'll be free. No collar, no cell. You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want. You'll even get a wooden sword, the Rudies, the symbol of a freed gladiator. He's dangling hope in front of you. Hope is a dangerous thing in the ludus. Hope makes you careless, makes you dream of a future that probably doesn't exist. But it's also the only thing that makes the present bearable. I'll keep winning, you say. Good, Gnaeus replies, because you're worth more to me alive than dead. Don't forget that. You're dismissed. You walk back to your cell, and for the first time in a year, you let yourself imagine what freedom might feel like. Not everyone gets to fight for freedom. There are other ways out of the ludus, but none of them are pleasant. Death is the most common exit. Most gladiators are dead within a year. The ones who survive longer are either exceptionally skilled or exceptionally lucky. Usually both. Some gladiators are granted freedom by their owners, not because they've earned it, but because they're too injured to fight anymore. A severed tendon, a crushed hand, an eye lost to infection. When you're no longer profitable, you're released, not as a reward, as discarded property. These men usually end up begging in the streets. They have no skills outside the arena. No way to earn a living. They're broken, traumatized, useless to society. They die slowly, forgotten. A few gladiators become trainers. Men like Lucius, who survived long enough to retire and who have the knowledge to teach the next generation. But these positions are rare. There are far more retired gladiators than there are training positions. And then there's escape. It's attempted occasionally, always unsuccessfully. The ludus is designed to prevent it. High walls, guards, iron collars that mark you as property. Even if you got out of the compound, where would you go? Rome is a city of 1 million people, and you're a foreigner who barely speaks Latin. You'd be caught within a day. The punishment for attempted escape is crucifixion. Public, slow, a warning to others. So you don't try to escape. You fight, you kill, you survive, and you hope that maybe someday you'll earn enough victories to walk out through the gate instead of being carried out through it. By your 10th fight, you're a recognized name. The crowd cheers when you enter the arena. Betting odds favor you. You're valuable enough that Gnaeus is protective. He doesn't match you against opponents who are too dangerous. He wants to preserve his asset. You've killed 10 men, 10 faces you see every night when you close your eyes, 10 bodies you've left in the sand. You've also been injured, a deep cut across your ribs that took weeks to heal, a dislocated shoulder, countless bruises and sprains. Your body is a map of violence, scars on top of scars, but you're still alive. That's more than most can say. Dagos is still alive too. He's fought 14 times now. He's become a veteran. His name is known. People bet on him. Children in the streets imitate his fighting style. He's also started to crack. You can see it in his eyes. The drinking has gotten worse. The nightmares more frequent. He's killed 14 men. How do you carry that? I'm not going to make it to freedom, he tells you one night. I can feel it. My luck is running out. Don't talk like that, you say. You're one of the best fighters here. That doesn't matter, he replies. Luck matters, and mine is gone. 3 weeks later, he fights a retiarius, a net fighter. It should be an easy match. Dagos has beaten Retiari before, but this one is good. better than the others. He tangles Dagos in the net. Dagos struggles, but the net tightens. The trident finds his throat. Dagos dies in the sand, his 14th fight, so close to freedom, so far. You stand in the holding area beneath the arena and listen to the crowd cheer his death. You think about how the same crowd cheered him when he won, how they loved him when he was useful and forgot him the moment he stopped being entertainment. That night, you lie in your cell and wonder how much longer your own luck will last. And that's where we'll leave tonight's journey. Somewhere out there, the sun is rising, and somewhere else, it's still deep night. Wherever you are, thank you for keeping me company in the quiet. We've walked through what it really meant to be a gladiator. Not the myth of glory, but the reality of the collar, the training yard, the stone cell, the moment before the gate opens, the weight of killing, the erosion of the soul. The Romans wanted you to see gladiators as heroes, as warriors who chose this life, as men who embodied virtue and courage. That was the myth they sold. That was the story carved into marble and painted on walls. But the truth is simpler and darker. Gladiators were slaves, property, investments. They were men who had no choice, who were trained to kill for entertainment, who died for applause. Some survived long enough to earn freedom, most didn't. They died in the sand, their bodies dragged through the gate of death, their names forgotten by the next day's games. We remember the Colosseum as a monument to Roman engineering. We admire its arches and its scale. We visit it as tourists, taking photographs, marveling at its preservation. But we should also remember what it was: a factory for death, a place where human beings were consumed as entertainment, a machine that ran on blood and justified it with spectacle. The gladiators we've walked beside tonight, the Thracian, Crixus, Brennus, Dagos, they're all gone now, lost to history, no names recorded, no graves marked, just anonymous bodies that fed Rome's appetite for violence. But their experience was real, their fear was real, their suffering was real, and their deaths mattered, even if Rome didn't think so. If you're still awake, tell me, where in the world are you listening from right now? Could you have survived what we've witnessed tonight? Could you have worn the collar, picked up the sword, walked through that gate knowing you might not walk back? I'd love to know. Drop a comment and tell me where this story found you. If you enjoyed stepping into the sand with me, if you want more journeys into the lives history tried to erase, make sure to follow along for the next one. Until then, rest easy and let your mind wander kindly through the shadows where slaves became gladiators and gladiators became ghosts. This has been History for the Restless Mind. Until we meet again.